There's a time and a place for black and white, like when you're learning to play piano, or when you want a big two-toned cookie, or when shopping for a pet zebra. But if you want to attract customers, there's no room for black and white. So go to Staples. Staples specializes in bold, hard-to-miss color printing. And now at Staples, get 20% back in rewards on color printing, from banners to brochures and copies to presentations. Print more color, save more money at Staples.
In-store only. Ends 11/10/18. Restrictions apply. See store associate or staples.com/20back for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
What's going on, college football fans, and welcome to another edition of your favorite college football show. You are back with us for another edition of Quick Slants. I'm one of your hosts, Devin McMillan, but I'm here with the star of the show. We got War Room Sports college football guru Fred Perdue in the building. Fred, what's going on?
Man, I'm great, man. Football, more football. As a matter of fact, I just finished watching a live football game because of, bad weather.
No doubt. Yo, it's week 2 is in the book, so, we waited all this time. The anticipation was real, and now we're chugging right along. So let's get into this episode of Quick Slants, because I know the people out there chomping at the bit to hear what we're going to talk about this week. And I think so far, after every week, there's been themes. Last week was like the theme of struggle, and mostly at the quarterback position. I think this week, after week 2, there's been a couple of significant injuries. So we're going to talk about those, and we're going to start off with Oklahoma running back Rodney Anderson, who is out for the season. You want to talk about what kind of blow that is for Oklahoma?
Definitely. Rodney Anderson, one of the better running backs in the country. Actually, if there wasn't a Kyler Murray on that Oklahoma team, they might have a Heisman candidate in Rodney Anderson. So going down with an ACL, and that we always used to say the ACL was the touch of death, but nowadays you can come back from that. But it is a big injury because of the fact that he was a very, very productive back. And we kind of know what Kyler Murray is all about, but we really don't know what he's like and what he's about until we see him against some real competition. They haven't really played any real competition, and so I want to see a little bit more from him. But Rodney Anderson, this is what Rodney Anderson brings to you: 1,161 yards and 13 touchdowns last year. Yeah, That's a lot of production you just lost.
Yeah, and, like you said, that injury used to be, that was the death blow. And it's no longer that, but it's an injury, in my opinion, that, you don't want to get it, period, but if you're going to get it, you don't want to get it in college. Because that kind of, it sets your life back. It kind of puts your life on hold. You get that injury in the NFL, you're still getting paid. Everything is everything. On the college level, you're not getting paid. There's questions about future eligibility, or even if you want that future eligibility. You were looking forward to being on a certain schedule, especially the guys who are NFL-level talent. Like, you're looking to be on that schedule to be in a certain draft. And now you got this setback that's going to make you rethink your whole time in college and, how much of it you actually have to spend. So shout out to that young man. Get well as quickly as possible. But like Fred said, just know, like back in the day, this is not a death blow to you. Your man Frank Gore came into the NFL without knees, damn near, and look how long he's been playing.
Look at where he is now. Yeah, right. Look where he is now.
So he's keep your head up, youngin.
Definitely. Kyler Murray, you got a lot on your shoulders now. Let's see if that $5 million coming back to college was worth it. Let's see if it was worth it.
No doubt. We got another running back injured. I'd say hurt because this is not as serious, but Stanford running back Bryce Love is out for week 3. You want to update us on that?
Yeah, Bryce Love just going down in week 3, suffering. It was an undisclosed injury. You know how we don't like to talk about injuries nowadays in the college world. Coaches tell as little as possible. But Stanford is they're led by their defense, so I'm not too worried about this one. I think when you have a guy like a KJ Costello, I think you can kind of withstand losing a Heisman candidate per se. The only question I have is with him going forward. He was injured all of last year. He played through it, but now he's injured again. At some point when the NFL comes to knocking, how many knocks on him will they put? How many times will they say, well, he's an injury risk, as good as he is?
No doubt. And that's not, you don't want that stigma attached to you when it's draft time.
Again, for a running back. Being injured is not a good thing.
Because NFL organizations don't really trust in the shelf life of running backs these days anyway. They've become a dime a dozen, except for a few teams willing to risk it all for a really good one. But you know how that goes. All right, so that's your injury news for the week, at least, the most notable injuries out there. Let's talk a little business here because according to Forbes, Texas A&M has jumped over Texas as college football's most valuable program. What are your thoughts on this? Because, I've never even checked these rankings, but it's always unspoken knowledge that, no matter how good programs are, like when USC was at the top, Texas was still the most valuable. When Miami was at the top, Texas was still the most valuable. All this time that Alabama has been at the top, Texas is still the most valuable because of, that alumni base, the boosters, the program in general, and the fact that, in Texas, football is a religion. I mean, that's why it's not surprising to me that if someone was going to jump Texas, it'll be another team from Texas. But what are your thoughts on college football's new most valuable?
Man, it really resonates because Texas football is a religion, like you said. And when I see to put this in perspective, it's Texas A&M and Texas 1-2, but the disparity between the programs is very big because you have Texas A&M bringing in $148 million, and Texas
per
bringing
year
in
for the last 3 years
per year, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas is, and I say only, but we're talking big money here. Texas is bringing in a whopping $133 million, so there's a huge difference there, and that's including where you get Texas has the Longhorn Network with the four letters, and they're bringing in $11 million with that too. So and that goes through June of 2031. So for me, when I look at this, it's a little bit of where this school is, the amount of money that has been put into this school, whether it was the renovating the stadiums, Johnny Manziel winning a Heisman and bringing this program back to somewhat relevance helps. And the fact that they're in the SEC, that also helps because they weren't doing this when they were in the Big 12. So when I look at Texas A&M at the top, I can see all of these factors go into it: new network contracts, a reinvestment into the program. This is why you can go hire a Jimbo Fisher for $70-something odd million and not even bat an eye. But even looking at how this breakdown of the other schools, you have Michigan nipping at that number 2 spot at $127 million. Alabama at the same thing. Ohio State $120 million, and then there's Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Auburn, LSU, and Florida. All of these schools
to round out the top 10.
To round out your top 10, and your 10th highest grossing team is $111 million in Florida, who hasn't been relevant since Tim Tebow was there. So, I mean,
since Tebus Christ left.
College football is a money maker. I mean, your 25th best school still they're still raking in $60 million, Texas Tech. So,
with a $31 million profit.
Like, yeah, exactly.
They're printing money in college football, which always takes us back to the discussion of players getting paid, players not getting paid. It's a big racket. There's a lot of money that they are making off of these players.
I was having a conversation earlier, and I said, let's just say hypothetically, and this is a big hypothetical, but let's say if you have a 75-man roster, that's guys that travel and don't travel, let's say you gave every player $1 million, and this is just for Texas A&M's purposes. You'd still have enough money to go pay Jimbo $10 million and still be fine. You'd still be fine.
Because Texas Tech, their profit margin is $107 million. And now, I've never been a proponent of them just flat out paying players as if this was professional sports. But, if somebody could come up with a good idea, maybe, each player gets some kind of trust that they can, that they can mature upon graduation or, whenever they leave the school. I can understand that. And I'm not even talking about money to make these guys rich, but something. I mean, because you're never going to give them what they're actually worth, what they're bringing to the program. But then you have to remember, like you said, on 75-man rosters, everybody on that roster is not valuable, And besides just money, I think that the people, video game licensing, jersey sales and all that kind of stuff, now those guys should definitely get paid because you know who to pay in that situation. Like if they're using your likeness or they're using your number, then there's a better equation of the value that you actually bring to the program. But, talking about just paying players, it's a really hard sell because nobody's come up with anything that makes any sense besides, just pay them. Everybody say pay them, but nobody comes up with anything that makes any sense. All right, so that's crazy, though, sitting here, talking about how much
just looking
revenue.
At these numbers, yeah.
Damn right. All right, so before we get into the Pick'em segment, give me some of your final impressions for week 2.
Oh, man. Arizona State might be real. I stayed up until 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday after being up since about maybe 8 o'clock in the morning watching College Game Day. I was damn tired. I'm just going to call it the way it is. Pac-12 after dark is not it. Please, Pac-12, can we please get these games a little bit earlier? I mean, to put this in perspective, I was watching this game after I watched Power and took a light nap. A light nap. But I just really wanted to see Herm Edwards and see how he managed this game. And it was a big game between two nationally recognized teams. And Herm Edwards, that NFL pedigree showed in the fourth quarter down the stretch.
Hello?
So,
hello?
Go ahead. Finish it, Coach. You played or what? What do you do, Coach?
He just wanted to say hi.
What do you do?
Hello?
Yeah, exactly. But see, that back end of that, when throughout that game, I said, you play to win the game. Normally, college coaches at the end of games, they play for overtime. Coach said, no. He said, hello, Mark D'Antonio. Hello. You play to win the game. And I love what he did. About 5 minutes left. They managed the clock perfectly. They ran the ball perfectly. Manny Wilkins made throws when he had to. He scrambled when he had to. He played to win, not to lose. And instead of trying to be too aggressive and go for the touchdown, they clocked it perfectly. With about 2 minutes left, they went into it. They slowed the game down, and they got it down to about 3 seconds, kneeled it in the middle of the field, took a timeout, and got out with a field goal. It was perfect. There was no time left, not even for a pooch kick We know how pooch kicks work. Somebody fumbles it, pitches it to somebody. Something crazy happens, and somebody's running down the field on a crazy on a crazy kick return. I've seen it. I've been a part of one of those magical moments, Miami and Duke a few years ago. So for me, that was one of the more masterful performances, and that showed the difference between an NFL coach coming to college and a college coach in Mark D'Antonio, who's been around the game forever. I've seen him blow games, but when you have an experienced NFL guy come down, it shows. I also red alert. I normally don't say red alert, but red alert. Florida State, I'm a little worried. They struggled mightily. Against Samford, Bobby Bowden's old alma mater. Samford got out early, very early. Florida State's offensive line didn't look good. I thought maybe it was just something. It was a Virginia Tech team, week 1. It was Labor Day. Maybe the guys just were a little overconfident. It was the first game of the season. Those first game jitters. No. Florida State looked bad early. They found ways to win. I think there was a little bit of home cooking with a couple penalties, especially on a pick six. Normally I say, okay, the pick six, I didn't have a problem with the pick, but when it came to the sixth part, Levante Taylor got the pick, and there was a block in the back. When you're only down 3, if there's a block in the back, the defense was playing pretty well. It's a spot foul. If Samford holds them to 3, they could go back down the field, maybe score. You never know. But they didn't call it. It was very obvious. I mean, I'm just talking a bunch of possibilities here. But, when you're in Doak and you don't need – and the ACC, you have the ACC network to yourself. Maybe a ref here or there turns a blind eye. Who knows? I'm not accusing anybody of anything. And last but not least, that Texas A&M team we talked about, they gave Clemson everything they wanted, and there was a controversial call where the ball went out the back of the end zone on a play where a Clemson player caught a pass. A Texas A&M player caught a pass, got up the sidelines. The ball went out the back of the end zone, but it really didn't. It went over the pylon at about 3 yards, but because of at the 3-yard line, but the angle looked like it went out of bounds. Maybe it was a bang play. It's every angle you couldn't really tell from the angle they were at, but Clemson barely got away, barely. I don't know, Clemson. You the D-line that I championed all summer and going into the season didn't look like that D-line. They got a block. It really came down to that play and a blocked field goal. So I want to see more from these Tigers, especially on the defensive side, before I'm ready to put them into any kind of playoffs.
Pretty ready to crown them.
I was
we let them off
early, yeah, prematurely.
All right, so let's get into this pick'em segment. And if you guys out there are in our college pick'em pool, it's time to pick up your notepad and your pen, because Fred's about to give you information on the actual games that are in the pick'em for this week. He's not going to give you, the win, who's going to win or who's going to lose. I mean, sometimes he throws you a freebie from time to time, but make sure you take some notes. You can take this knowledge and do what you must and make your picks. But this is your chance to get a leg up on Fred by using his own knowledge against him. So let's go to the college pick'em. And before we get into all of the rest of the games, I want to just make sure you guys know that the West Virginia at North Carolina State game has been postponed due to Hurricane Florence and will not be played this Saturday, September 15th. However, the matchup is still pickable, so you can still pick the game, and whenever it's played, you'll get your points for it if you indeed win it. But, since it's not going to happen this game, we're going to skip that game as far as Fred's analysis. So we're going to start with number 5, Oklahoma, versus Iowa State Cyclones. Sooner Cyclones. What's your thoughts?
This game always gives everyone in Sooner Nation some real pause because Iowa State's a pest. They really know how to make games difficult in years past. Not this year. This Oklahoma team is loaded. That even with Rodney Anderson missing time, we have capable backups here. Kyler Murray is the star of this show. He's gonna go nuts. So I'm not calling it a win, but I like Kyler Murray a lot.
All right, then we're gonna go Georgia Tech visiting Pittsburgh. So Georgia Tech versus Pitt.
So we have an ACC coastal matchup here. This one's gonna have a lot of say-so down the road, but for now, Georgia Tech played a very, very close game against USF last week, and it was a very exciting game. They had 2 kickoffs returned on them. That might have been the game early. It was hot. It was just awful outside for them. There was no defense played early. USF found a way to win, but I don't see where Pitt finds a way to win this one. If they can't stop the run, Tyquan Marshall, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, he's really a running back at the quarterback position in this old school triple option offense, but he knows when to give it, when to keep it, when to throw it, when to run it, when to pull it down, get rid of it. He's becoming a master at this offense, and every year you see Georgia Tech with a guy like this. He gave Miami fits last year in a shootout. This team, if they can find something on defense, they have a chance of really making some headway in this conference. On the other side, Pitt and their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who was a freshman last year, burned his red shirt and really gave these same Miami Hurricanes, I thought, had a really good chance at a playoff chance. He kind of took those playoff chances away. I will always look at him give him some kind of shade because of that. But he's really been making some big plays. He's never going to be he's probably not going to be the big time passer. They're not going to put up big gaudy passing numbers. That's just not how Paul Chryst runs his offense. He's more of a conservative downhill running type of team in the mold of a Wisconsin. That's what he's trying to build there. But from what I've seen of this Pitt team, they lost to Penn State. But I'm not too upset with that. It's Penn State. They were completely blown out. Not too mad about it. They've had a good, easy win, and now they had a not so great outing against them. This game will tell us a lot about Pitt early. If they get blown out, it could be a long year for them. But if it's close, and even if they lose and it's close, they still have a chance in the conference. But Georgia Tech's been fun to watch because Paul Johnson's kind of reinventing this old school triple option offense into the mold of this new college football, whether it's up tempo, throwing the ball a little bit more, just giving some different wrinkles, and it's very fun to watch. If you get a chance, go watch them.
All right. Speaking of a chance, Vanderbilt's going to South Bend to take on the number 8 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Do they have a shot?
Notre Dame looks really good so far. They've reinvented the offense, more of a up-tempo spread passing game. Brandon Wimbush looks pretty good in this offense. They're kind of catering to his strength. That 2-0 next to Vanderbilt's name, that it looks great. But I'm not too sure that Kyle Shermer is not one of those guys you really want to rely on. You want to win in spite of him. Ralph Webb is no longer there. That can spell problems for them. This game's going to be on Brandon Wimbush. He's been fairly accurate, 29 of 53 for 467 yards. He needs to cut down on the interceptions. In 3 weeks, he has 4. In actually 2 weeks, he has 4 INTs until 1 touchdown. But they're moving the ball up and down the field on people. So that really is a big thing for them. He out there,
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, exactly. The offense looks pretty good. They're averaging about 360 yards a game, 125 yards on the ground, 233 through the air. Pretty good numbers. A Michigan win, a Ball State win. They're averaging about 24 points a game. So this game will tell us a little bit more. SEC team nonetheless. Notre Dame is a 2-touchdown favorite, literally 14 points. I'm kind of on the fence on this one, but I just don't trust a Vanderbilt team that ever really get it done. It's just this team hasn't been good over the last probably decade or so.
All right, well, this next matchup is one of our favorite kind, two ranked teams. And both of these teams are in the top 15, and they both are Tigers. We got LSU going to Auburn.
So I'm going to give a pick for this one, okay?
Uh-oh.
So I say the Tigers will win. That's all I'm going to give you. The Tigers will win. Gotcha. This game's going to be a good one. LSU's defense looks pretty legit. Auburn's defense is pretty good as well. For LSU, Joe Burrow has to continue doing what he's been doing. They're running the ball pretty well. He's the son of a coach, so whenever you have one of those type of quarterbacks, you tend to trust the fact that he can deliver the ball and read defenses. He can get guys in and out of the huddle, and his preparation is going to be like no other. On the other side, for Auburn, Jarrett Stidham is a pretty good quarterback. Auburn's offense isn't quarterback dependent. It's more of one of those veer option type of offenses. He can run it without having to really use his legs a lot. You'll see him on a lot of sprint outs, quick outs. You'll see him throwing hitches, little short stuff, and then just when you decide to bring a corner or a safety up and roll them up in coverage, he's going to go over the top. This offense is explosive, but don't expect a ton of points. Auburn's a 10.5-point favorite, but I might bring it down even a little bit more than that. I think I could probably see this game being a touchdown game maybe. Auburn's putting up almost 500 yards of offense, but kind of reel it back a little bit. It was a big win over Alcorn State and against Washington, a close 5-point win. Starting off a little slow offensively, I thought they put up a bit more better numbers. But I expect some good hits. This is good old SEC football. I will be tuned into this one.
Because on me, I'm different. I just have a different constitution. I have a different brain. I have a different heart. I have a different, I got tiger blood, man.
Tiger blood, man. All right, so let's go to some Cowboys and their horses. We got and this is another game between ranked teams, both in the top 25. We got number 17 Boise State going to see number 24 Oklahoma State.
This one's going to be a good one. Oklahoma State, different set of characters, same explosive offense. Justice Hill is the running back you want to watch. I really like him. Elusive, smart running back. But for me, when I look at how this team is going to go, for Boise State, do we remember a certain Rippin that used to play for the Washington professional team? Not all that great, but put up some okay numbers.
Yes, sir.
Well, we have a nephew of his, and Brett Rippin. He's a senior at Boise State. He's 6'2", 202. He's putting up some pretty good numbers on the season. 73% completion percentage. Averaging about almost 12 yards a play, 7 touchdowns, no picks. This Boise State team has beaten Troy and UConn, so take that with a grain of salt. The kid is just destroying bad teams. I mean, this same UConn team that was just obliterated also got 50-something points hung on them by the mythical national champs in UCF. So this will be their first real test. It's in Stillwater, so that kind of usually when I have a game like this, I tend to lean towards the home team. It's a 3:30 start, so I'm still on the fence on this one. I haven't picked this game actually yet. I have to look a little bit more. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some stuff on this team over the week, the kind of next couple of days before I make this pick. This is probably the least confident game I have. So if I get this one wrong, I'm not hurt too much because neither team has really played anybody.
And shout out to the Rippin family tree, he also had a daughter who was a quarterback in like the lingerie league or something like that. So shout out to the quarterback.
They just breeding quarterbacks over there. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so we got another matchup between ranked teams, both in the top 15. That's number 4 Ohio State going to see the number 15 TCU Horned Frogs. Thoughts on this one?
This one's it's a proverbial home game for TCU. It's in Jerry World. It's the last game you Ohio State fans get without your lying, cheating, stealing, harboring a wife beater, former murderer. There's nothing good about Urban Meyer I will ever say. The only bright spot he ever had in his career was Alex Smith and Tim Tebow. But nonetheless, this Ohio State team still well coached. They're blowing teams out. Ohio State's a two touchdown favorite, and I believe every bit of it. Dwayne Haskins is everything I've expected from him. Ohio State's throwing the ball a little bit more. Now Ohio State has a true quarterback. The last few years, seems like the last 10 years they've had J.T. Barrett. So he's been running the football, running a lot, not throwing accurately. Well, Dwayne Haskins can actually throw the football. 42 of 53, 546 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 0 picks. Ohio State's played the likes of Rutgers and Oregon State, dropping 77 points and 52 points respectively against very bad teams. But they're on a 5-game winning streak dating back to the last 3 games of last year as well as this year, the first 2. They've been putting up big numbers, gaudy numbers. I am looking forward to not the offense, but I'm looking forward to the defense. Sam, I'm looking forward to seeing Joey Bosa. I said Joey Bosa. I knew I was going to say it. Nick Bosa. I'm looking forward to seeing Nick Bosa. When you put the helmets on and just put them in jerseys, they look so much alike. They're just explosive pass rushers. But Nick Bosa is going to be terrorizing this TCU team. When I look at this TCU team, receiver, when I look at how that offense works, Kevontae Turpin really gives them a jolt on offense. For me, it's not the running game that's going to save them because offensively this team's not all that great. They're going to have to win on the perimeter. Sean Robinson, sophomore quarterback, is not really throwing the ball well, but they're going to have to live on the screens but the vertical game isn't going to be there. Watching them over the last 2 weeks, it's just not there offensively. Kenny Hill isn't walking through the door anytime soon, and maybe that might be a bad thing. Ohio State might kind of, actually, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you one. You know how I say Alabama's going to win regardless? Ohio State's going to run away with this one. Urban Meyer teams live for moments like this, where they just say, we don't have our head coach. Guess what? We're going to blow you out and show you we don't need Urban Meyer. And, the good teams need to win games like this so they don't get bored. Ohio State wins this game by 3 touchdowns.
All right. Then you got the number 22 ranked USC Trojans going to visit the Texas Longhorns. This is USC Texas Part 3, but, of course, this is another rematch in the series of what many people think is the greatest college football game of all time, that 2006 national championship at the Rose Bowl. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Texas isn't ranked in this one. So it definitely doesn't have the same cachet that it once had. But what are your thoughts?
I'm not excited for this game at all. 2006, we remember the cast of characters. It was like the greatest story ever told. You had two Heisman Trophy winners, a eventual Super Bowl champion head coach who everyone loved, and Mac Brown, who was a really good coach. Vince Young was one of the most exciting quarterbacks and probably should have won the Heisman. You had Reggie Bush, at that time my favorite college player of all time. And for me, that game was the best game I'd ever seen. And then they followed it up last year, Sam Darnold versus this Texas defense, Tom Herman on the sideline, and it lived up to the billing. Well, this one, not so much. You got a freshman quarterback at USC in JT Daniels, who after one game, we thought, okay, he might be okay. Even against UNLV, then Stanford walked in and he threw pick after pick. It looks this team might be good 2 years from now, maybe even a year from now, but they're going through their growing pains. Amon St. Brown, the little brother of Equanimeous St. Brown from Notre Dame, they have a family. That's another family of really good athletes that are kind of littered everywhere across the country when it comes to the game of football. That those guys are really good. That's going to be a nice connection over the next couple of years. But Texas, on the other hand, they're not good. So maybe USC might win this one by default. I've been flipping back and forth. Sam Ehlinger won the job over Shane Buechele, who I thought would be the next Colt McCoy. That flamed out very early. But the running game isn't working for Texas. The passing game isn't really there. They're leaning on Lil Jordan Humphrey. Yeah, I said it. That's his name, Lil Jordan Humphrey. That's his name, but he's a big guy. So the name just didn't fit. He's 6'4", he's 225. I think you can't drop it off his name, but if I was him, can we just call me Jordan? I mean, I'm just saying. But this Texas team is going to have to do it on defense. If they can get some stops and be physical, they have a chance. But this is just going to be an ugly game. I'm not looking forward to it. I might not even turn it on. I might check the scores. But this game, Texas is a 3.5-point favorite only because they're at home.
All right. You got number 10, Washington, visiting Utah. Utah's unranked, but they're 2-0. The Huskies are 1-1 going into this game. What are your thoughts on this one?
Jake Browning is a really accurate quarterback. Coming in 41 of 69, 609, and 3 touchdowns. Really looking good. Miles Gaskin is back for another year. He's another one of those guys like J.T. Barrett. It just feels like he's been there forever. He only has 128 yards in 2 games, but this offense is just being very productive. On the other side, Utah has a pretty productive offense. At quarterback, Tyler Huntley looks really good so far, 565 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Zach Moss, they missed him last year, and it shows because this Utah team averaging about 470 yards, 300 through the air, 168 odd yards through the air. The defense is what really surprised me because they're only giving up about 145 yards so far. And what I want to see from them is how can they control the ball and keep it out of out the hands of Jake Browning and Miles Gaskin. How can they go ahead and do that? So we're going to see how in this Pac-12 matchup, Pac-12 North matchup, whoever wins this game has a leg up in the North and may have a chance to lock this division up early.
All right, and last but not least, we're going to keep it out west. We got Fresno State visiting Chip Kelly's 0-2 UCLA Bruins.
Preseason, I said Chip Kelly had a chance to start the season 1-1. Why? Because you would be playing a Cincinnati team that may be surprised and you may get something out of that bad matchup. Well, not so fast. This Cincinnati team, I can't even call it an upset. They beat UCLA 26-17, and then they had I knew for a fact Oklahoma would destroy this UCLA team, and they did. 49-21, but it was really more like 49-7. A couple garbage touchdowns at the end made it look a little better than it was. Wilton Spate doesn't look good. So we had a change at quarterback. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who I spoke about earlier in the preseason, freshman quarterback out of Las Vegas, looked pretty good in his first outing, 371 yards and a touchdown. I look forward to seeing how he actually gets better throughout the process. He threw 51 passes in the last 2 games, both losses, but he's completing about 60-61% of his passes, so that's pretty good. This is a growing year for UCLA. I'd almost call it a throwaway year. If don't hold Chip Kelly accountable for this one. I mean, he didn't have much to work with. He needs time to recruit. It is UCLA, so those guys will be able to come in, and once those recruiting classes come in, then we can kind of start judging Chip Kelly. But I want to put a to be determined on Chip Kelly onto his coaching tenure at UCLA, at least for now.
All right, well, there you have it. Everybody who's a part of our college pick'em. As usual, Fred didn't give you the answers, but he gave you analysis on each and every game. So that should be able to help you make your picks if you're unsure about anything. And, you make the right picks and you get those bragging rights over Fred because he's dropping all his knowledge, but you're in here kicking his butt. So make sure you guys get those picks in before kickoff on Saturday for all of those games. Again, like we said, the game down at North Carolina State has been postponed due to Hurricane Florence, but there's no date right now for the makeup game. But look, man, Week 2 is in the books. Week 3 is on the way. I know you college football fans out there are excited. We're excited as well. Fred, let them know where you're going to be, how they can reach you on Saturday and talk some smack while you're watching college football.
You can catch me on Twitter, FurPurdueCFB. I'll be watching a lot of SC. My eyes are on you, SEC. I think you might be coming back to dominance. My eyes are on you, Tua Tagovailoa. My eyes are on you. Just saying. I'm watching.
Watching, Tua. All right, so there you have it. Look, Week 3 is on the way. We will definitely talk to you guys next week. This has been another edition of Quick Slants, and for my partner, Fred Purdue, this is Devin McMillan. We always tell you guys here at War Room Sports, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top. Peace.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.